Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to EML F2. I am your host, Lesty, and I'm joined by Scott alongside me.
Pleasure to be back once again on a Wednesday night here, Lesty. We're back, of course, EML F2 for round number 4 officially on the calendar, and it takes us to Spa-Francorchamps, the longest circuit on the calendar, of course, for what should be a great night of racing here, especially when you see weather like this, Lesty.
Yes, with weather like this and a track like this, it could cause a bit of drama here, especially with Eau Rouge and Radion, that part of the track that can be particularly difficult anyway for some drivers, but in the wet can be a whole different ball game. Thank you for joining us tonight. Please make sure you subscribe to League Racing TV and also like this live stream and give us some comments down below. Give us some predictions. We'll have a look. We'll read some out as we're going through. So then, after last week's dramas in Japan, and what a race we had in Japan, we're at Spa with a wet qualifying. I believe already that these guys have taken a little while to come out, so I think this has thrown quite a few of these drivers off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've just got our first car of L.E. Tito coming through at the second sector now, 2 minutes into this qualifying session. They took a little bit extra time in this garage here, Les. They maybe tweaked the setup ever so slightly, maybe just studying that data they've got, of course, for the race. If we're going to see a dry race or we're going to see a wet race, we'll find out very, very shortly, of course. These drivers have a rough idea, and they'll be putting that prep, a little bit extra prep into these qualifying setups to try and maximise the performance across both sessions, of course. Qualifying sets up for the race is where points will be scored. But it's a tricky track, of course. Last week, Suzuka, another very similar vein, a historic track with a lot of different twists, a lot of different turns, and a lot of famous corners. Many here once again tonight. You mentioned a few, Eau Rouge. We've, of course, got Le Combes, the sector just at the first part of the second sector. Of course, Pouon, Blanchimont, and the infamous bus stop chicane. Tito, interestingly enough, coming into the pits after doing his outlap for the Williams 4 Legacy Esports. I'm not too sure if that's a quali ban or I think it must have been. He's bamboozled me there. He's done me well and truly.
He has indeed. And Gelram coming up to the chicane before starting his lap has just spinned the car. So these drivers are already really struggling. And it's actually going to be Darren now who's going to be our first driver to go on a lap. So we'll go on board. Oh, and you can see the back end really pulling out. This is not going to be easy for these guys. It's looking like a test, like a big challenge already, and we haven't even got into the lap yet. Up we go, up Eau Rouge. Can Tara keep the car together? He can. Pretty tidy there, but I think we're going to see a fair few mistakes and probably improvements as we go. Obviously wet tyres, and Dara goes deep on the brakes, manages to keep it on track actually, but is really fighting this car here in every turn, and he's going to actually fully back out of the lap to let his teammate through. So we'll go on board with his teammate, so he'll be the first one to set the time, and he's equally looking all over the place. This has really thrown them. WR, a team you'd think that would probably have all sorts of setups in their locker, but clearly doesn't really look like a wet setup on Belgium is for them.
Makes you wonder, what is that forecast for the race looking like? Is it going to be a bit of a drier session? We're getting a monsoon here on Saturday qualifying. Maybe it's fine and dandy for the Sunday. I've been watching LDL Shanks. He got a nice bit of a tow down the Kemmel Straight by his teammate, and a pretty tidy lap so far. Maybe coping a little bit better, a little bit of a tidier, neater setup for the LDL driver in the McLaren here tonight. He's currently just coming through the tail end of this second sector. Of course, a right-hander before a left, and then a double, very tricky at times it must be said, double right-hander of 15 and 16 named Stavelot after the town that is very, very close by to the circuit here in Belgium. Up the back straight, you could qualify as Dara does put in a 2:05.110 the first lap of the session. Easily blown out of the water by Kay Gatkowski with a 57 flat, and Igor Jelin just gone out to his teammate with a 56, won the times, starting to fly in here in Belgium, and Shanks finishing up this lap here out of the infamous bus stop chicane and up to the line. It was a tidy first sector, a little bit of time lost there through the middle part, 59.939 for him. I believe that was PGS Stretch up to the line with 57.738, just pipping ahead of IRT Julian coming up to the line to finish their lap. It is not Eve and Glowstick, the two TGT drivers. Glowstick are going to be the front runner of those pair up to the line, and a 2-minute 1.6 provisional P8 for Glowstick. Not Eve, of course, raced a few times this season, 57.6. So as things stand, CPI, like they did at Silverstone, looking pretty strong. A 9/10 advantage for Igor Jelin, but still quite a few cars to put a lap time in here, Leslie.
Yes, definitely. As we can see, there's a massive gap already between the two CPI boys as Haribo puts himself into P6 with the latest attempt. But yeah, we can see a massive gap there. We're expecting to see improvements. I'm personally expecting to see improvements for Igor as well. The track will only get better. I think as they go around as well, a drier sort of less wet line should appear, and that should mean that the grip may slightly increase if they stick to that line, as Dara does another attempt, and that's more like it from the WR man. 56.7, still over half a second away from Igor though, so still improvements to be made there. But the one good thing about a wet session is if you just chuck a load of fuel in, these wet tyres can just keep going and going and going, so you can really get a good rhythm of laps. Great practice if this is the weather for the race also, as Smalley Balls puts himself P7. So yeah, they will just keep going, probably till about halfway through the session, and then they'll go for a new set and do the exact same, just pump in the laps. It's a very long circuit here. I might be wrong in saying, correct me if I am, but I believe this is the longest track on the calendar.
It is. That comes in at, I do believe, 7 kilometres long, really outstretching most of the other tracks by a fair margin on the F1 calendar. 4.3 miles long, or just over the 7 kilometre mark. Hence why, in a normal full 100% race, 44 laps only to meet that minimum distance time. There'll be 22 in the race tonight, of course, with the 50%. A few of the cars in the pits. The pits maybe tempted by those intermediate tyres, it seems, and like you say, there'll be a lot of cars that are just out there putting in lap times, time after time, lap after lap, building that little bit of confidence, of course, stretching the track limits, stretching the braking points, and seeing how fast and how far they can push those limits on the wet tyres. They will, of course, as they do laps, build up that confidence, maybe even build up a little bit more temp and grip in the tyres, and of course, if, like you said, that dry line does form, that will just really add on to fins. I'm currently just having a little look at the RBL driver of, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, Yisalta? I think I'll call him Salt, just because that is an easy word that I can't mess up. He's coming through the second sector, and to be fair, it's maybe not been the tidiest of laps, but it's been a decent one for what will be their banker. And speaking of decent laps, there's a 55.892 on the board by Igor Jelin. Really solid lap there, going 3 tenths clear of his teammate, who's 6 tenths clear of WOR Dara. I was going to try and pronounce his full name there, but Salt. We'll just go for RVL Salt coming through the bus stop chicane then to round off their banker. And it looks like the rest of those still to set a lap time will put on the inters and try for theirs. But what can the RVL driver do? A 57.479. He'd be decently happy with that. You know, but 1.6 seconds off the pace as things stand. That's a built of a lap time by the CPA drivers. CPI, sorry.
That is, yeah, struggling with names there, on a couple of those, but we'll stick to Salt. We'll stick to Salt. That's a good first effort from him. But yeah, both CPI drivers improving their times. I got into the 55s now, so it's up to the rest of the field. The rest of the field have really got to sort of try and up their game because they're just pushing away, CPI boys. There's no real response apart from Dara's attempt that put him in between the two momentarily, but they have since improved and pushed themselves up. We have not addressed either that we have unfortunately lost a team in RCR. They have moved up into F1 tier, so if you are an RCR fan or an RCR member, you're watching the wrong stream because you're now in F1, so go over to the F1 stream. They had a team retire, so they had to fill the gap. RCR came out on top as the fastest in a qualifying session, and they were awarded the place. So good luck to them in F1. Hope they really smash it and do well up there. So that is why we are down to the 18 drivers, and I'm sure the management team of EML are looking to get a replacement in as soon as possible, hopefully for our next race. But I'm on board with JR Damage, who has put on the intermediate tyres, and I'm seeing a lot of people now put on the intermediate tyres. So has this rain eased off? To me, it doesn't look that much different, but I'm not on the track. I'm just the man behind the mic here. So let's see what the guys on the inters can do, because if we see big improvements coming, then we're all going on inters. The CPI boys still on the wets. They're currently in the pits actually, so they'll be eager to watch to see how this develops. As there we go, the first lap on intermediates, and it's a 55 flat, so we are now in intermediate territory, and we are going to start to see a lot of drivers improve big time on their laps, and anyone in the pits should get out there on inters, because you're going to be losing time here against your rivals. And as I say that, pretty much everyone on the grid has changed to inters tyres, so it's about to ramp up, Scott.
Oh, absolutely. The pace flying down there with Damage's lap. He picked up half a second's worth of time through the second sector alone. First sector, not much of a difference between himself and Igor Jelin's best time, but that second sector crucial, half a second in there, and 3 tenths in the final sector. I've seen a lot of cars though on this first run on the intermediates having a little bit of an invalidation. Jarno Butterjee and I believe Smalley Balls again having them invalidation, just pushing the car, pushing the tyres maybe a little bit too hard for what they would like, as LDL Lapiche, I've probably butchered that one, a 54.7, 3 tenths clear at the top, and these lap times really starting to come down. Haribo on a flying lap, a 58.3, the best time he could achieve on the wets. It's going to be mighty quicker up than that on these inters, and it is going to be a 53.8, a whole second nearly shaved off there. And this is going to be crucial, Leslie, about the timing of when these laps come in, because as things dry out, the grip's going to ramp up, the times are going to come down, and it could all be down to who times that run down to get across the line to get that last lap in as late as they possibly can.
Yeah, you're spot on. Whoever's last across that line before the checkered flag is pretty much in the prime time position. So it's all about timing here for these guys, but also all about putting in the laps in. Same with the wet tyres as the inters. Slap them on, put the fuel in, and you can just keep going and going. And here, with such a long track, you're not able to get that many laps in, so you've really got to manage your time well here at Spa, because it takes a long time to get round, nearly 2 minutes, and that's on a flying lap. So these guys have really got to nail it when they come out. And there's still a few people in the pits. They've got time. I'm watching Glowstick at the moment as Jarno actually puts himself second with 54.1. Glowstick puts himself third with 54.2. So no one yet joining Haribo in the 53s. The CPI boys are just getting ready to go on a lap themselves. Dara coming up to the final chicane. He's on a flying lap. We expect decent times from this man. What can he do? Coming up to the line, it's 52s now. Over a full second faster than Haribo. It's ramping up big time. Everyone needs to be out there. Lepiche, only one who's not now out there, and he may have run out of time.
It's going to be very, very tight. I think that McLaren is just leaving the garage now. Maybe not actually. He might just have called it quits on this qualifying with 1:40 on the clock. Even if he did, it wouldn't happen. So this could be the last lap or the warm-up lap for the last lap for all these drivers. And one thing you did touch on there about how long this track time is, that's made maybe these slight little errors of running a little bit wide, of invalidating a lap. It cost that a little bit extra on this track than any other one, because you're so limited with the time that you have to try and get these lap times in. IRT Julian then, another driver into the 52.7s, as is not Eve for TGT, but not quite up there with the 52.5 of Dara. CPI, Igor Jelen invalidated their latest run. They will have enough time just to get to the start finish time. Smalley Ball's up to the line with a 52.683. Next up is the two LRN drivers, however. Thomas on an invalidation lap. Jarmo, I believe, is on a flying lap and can only manage a 53 flat. But 40 seconds on the clock. We've got a huge gaggle of cars coming through this final sector here, all preparing to either finish a lap or just stop this flying run. And it could be the likes of who is it? It's Haribo and Glowstick, I believe. No, it's not Glowstick, it's Eve. Just coming through this final sector. They might have just timed this to perfection.
Yeah, CPI boys have just come across the line as well. Gotsky, I've butchered that. He's not been able to reply very well. He's up into 5th. Igor actually invalidated his lap, so that one's gone. And I think, who's the last man over? I think that is a TGT. Not Eve is the last man to cross the line, so watch out for him at the end. Everyone now is on their final attempts. Julian is going to be the first man to finish across the line, and it's looking good. From what I've seen, this is going to be a good attempt for pole position. It is 51.6. That is a big lap at a big crucial moment. PGS Stretch now coming in for LE. What can he do? He's looking pretty good. It'll get him further up the board. Only P7. JR Damage. No, not JR Damage, apologies. Smalley Balls, who's up there in 3rd currently. What can he do? He's up by half a second, I believe, on his time. It's going to be an improvement, but how much? 52.1 up into 2nd. Even more drivers coming through. Shax invalidated. LRN Thomas up into 2nd. It's moving about all the time, Scott.
Oh, absolutely. It's really, really ramping up here towards the end. A few other drivers. Dara, crucially, has invalidated. Philip LP just rounding this final corner in front of him, I believe, is Glowstick, who goes P9 with a 53 flat. Phil LP, though, a 51.653, 6,000 of his teammate. JR Damage up the line, busts through into P1 with another 51.6, but immediately pushed out the way by Gelram, a 50.842 on his first and only lap of the second. I made a mess of that one. A 51.2. but beaten by his teammate CPI Igor Jelin with a 50.862. Last across the line then, I believe on a lap, will be Not Eve, as Dara has invalidated. And what a qualifying that's been already, Leslie. Them times absolutely taken to a scythe at the end, all the way down to a 50.8, with only 200 separating Jelram from Igor Jelin.
In the end, nothing really in between it, but Jelram comes in for WOR for back-to-back poles for the team, so well done to them. It's a 50.8, as Scott just said, for Jelram, 50.84 and a 50.86 for Igor. CPI leading most of that, but as the Inters came in, they needed to respond and they haven't been able to take pole. But it's Igor P2, Kogotsky in P3, Damage 4th, Julian 5th, 6th is Philip, Thomas 7th, Smalley Balls 8th, Haribo 9th, Not Eve 10th. Then we have Dara, Salt, Stretch, Glowstick, Boutier, Lipiche, Shax and Tito serving that quali ban. What a session that was. It really ramped up towards the end. We said it was going to change all the time with those final laps. A lot of drivers really doing well there with their final goes. One that you mentioned, Dara, invalidating and crucially missing out and is starting down just outside the top 10.
Yeah, it'll be unfortunate for the WR driver. Kind of mixed bag in that camp, I would say, right now. Of course, Jelram up on the top spot. Nice and, well, not quite clear, but a pretty decent lap when the time came in for it. Dara, like we said, we've seen him up there earlier on, so a mixed bag, but a good mix throughout the field. Of course, the two CPI boys, 2 and 3, the two IRT drivers in 5 and 6, I believe it is. So watch out for that little battle at the front. And, you know, a big shout out to Shax as well. The only person not to put a flying lap in on the intermediates. It just shows you how quick that time came down right at the end. With about 8 minutes to go, shall we say it was, they were putting in high 50s. Down into the low 50s, he was 5 seconds off the nearest car. But with, of course, this long circuit here tonight, Leslie, 7 kilometres per lap, 22 laps, undercuts and overcuts could be key. But I think we're getting ready for 5 red lights, so I'll hand it back to you.
We are 5 red lights, and those 5 red lights are out. We are away. Jelram seems to get away pretty well ahead of the CPI boys. Are they going to challenge? No, they're not. Instead, JR Damage is having a look at the back. Kogoski can't see too much happening at the back. Looks like everyone's through turn 1, safe and sound. Can we all get up? Eau Rouge, the front runners, all making it up. JR Damage actually has lost a place. IRT Julian has managed to get past the JR Damage man, and WOR Jelram has lost the lead. Igor making a quick move and getting ahead of the WR driver, putting his Red Bull into first place. So CPI on top with just 1 sector into this race.
Yep, CPI claiming that lead and putting a little bit of a split on Jelram. Bit of battling going on down through the mid-pack on that start, but nothing really to worry about. Thomas losing a couple of places here and there. Haribo and Not Eve having a little bit of battle, and Salt and Lepiche battling throughout that entire first sector. All pretty clean and all pretty dandy, you would say, from a driver and manager's perspective. They'll all be fairly happy with how the race has got away. Nobody quite out of things as of yet, but of course we settle in now as we approach the end of the first of 22 long laps here around Spa, as Thomas makes a move back on Smalley Balls. Smalley getting the move done down the inside at the end of the Kemmel straight into the comp section. He's now trying to defend from RBL Haribo. A little bit of wheel banging there as they came through. Blotchamogs, and a mighty send from Smalley Balls and Not Eve, it must be said. Big bit of contact there, but they all seem to have got away. Lost a little bit of time, of course, but no damage on any of the cars by the looks of things, Leslie.
Yeah, big send from TGT Eve. I don't think he expected Haribo to pull to the outside. There's PGS Stretch now battling away with Dara. A lot of banging of wheels here, and they're going side by side at Eau Rouge. Action all over the place already. Oh, and they've made contact. They're around. They're into the wall. I think Dara's actually survived, so it's only Stretch that has gone straight into the wall. As Gelram actually at the front, so we're missing that. He's retaken the lead over Igor of CPI, so TWOR back into the lead. A lot happening, and we've got our first incident. But so far, so good, as Smalley Balls and Thomas continue to battle in that midfield. Smalley Balls getting ahead on his soft tyre himself, and Stretch, the only two drivers on the soft tyres, as we see Salt already picking up a time penalty on the second lap. That is a kick in the teeth early on. Most of the rest of the grid running the medium tyre, and 5 drivers running the hard. So a little bit of a mix of strategies. There's your strategies on the bottom of your screen. Incredible time. It's like I knew it was coming. But here we are. Eve, TGT driver, still battling away in the midfield. Everyone is still within a second, apart from Stretch, who had that incident with Dara. So far, so good. Teams will be happy. Mostly clean so far. We've seen a few sends into this chicane. Are there going to be any more? I think there is behind Jarno and Dara. Dara's been pushed off. He's been given a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting. Oh, and now we're battling again. Dara's getting involved. There's a lot of wheel bashing going on involving Dara. It might not be Dara, but unfortunately he's involved, and he's lost the place to Jarno. Not able to make the progress he would have wanted to make, and it's just being caught up with these battles at the moment. I'm going to jump to the front quickly because we keep missing the change of the lead, and this time we're not going to get one. Typical. And now Dara makes a move on Jarno. So Dara making that move, making a bit of progress, but is now out of the DRS from the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, that gap, 1 second gap, of course, within the DRS. You get the pull down at the start finish straight and at the Kennel straight. Dara and I believe it was Jarno Buttigieg getting very much elbows out here, and a bit of a front wing going flying there. I'm not too sure if that was the Ferrari of Jarno or I'm honestly not too sure. I saw a nameplate fly up there as it came out of no name. Well, I suppose we'll see maybe at the first round of pit stops. But crucially for Dara, that 5-second penalty, an immediate one that slapped on him for cutting the chicane, of course. He maybe forced a little bit wide there. That will be served at the first and the required pit stop for this race. So could have big implications on the rest of how it shapes up. So he'll be looking to get a move on and push up through this field, which is exactly what he's trying through Blanchimon. He's in the left, Haribo on at the right. Of course, Haribo will have the inside into the first part of the bus stop chicane. Jarno Buttigieg, though, trying to follow on through, giving a little bit of a push, trying to edge the Alfa Romeo on, and it is Haribo into the pit, so maybe that is the answer of where the end plate came from.
Yeah, I think Haribo had a little bit of a moment down at No Name, losing the car slightly, and then in the following corner, I forget the name, also losing the car a little bit. So that's an early pit stop for Haribo. He's going on to the hards. He'll hope he can take those towards the end. Are we going to see a move for the front? No, we're not. Igor stays put and stays on that rear wing of the Alfa Romeo of Gelram. So far, the top 7, I'd say, are top 6 actually, are staying put mostly. We've seen Smalley Balls and Thomas already having a couple of nice little battles and interchanging positions, and then it comes Eve behind them with Jarno sitting in 10th, and unfortunately with the battling they've had, they have now dropped to 2.7 seconds behind the rest of the top 10 as El Itido becomes another victim of a penalty. So everyone seems to be everyone seems to be getting into a bit of a groove now. We're probably going to expect Smalley Balls and Stretch in first on the softs, and then we're going to see the mediums probably take them about 10 laps, would you say?
Yeah, I would say you're bang on sort of very early start stretch, you know, maybe 8 laps if you really want a big undercut and have to manage those hards. But even then, that's the really, really out there strategy. Probably about 10 laps on the mediums, around about the 12 for the hards. The softs, I'm not 100% too sure, but obviously they'll be in long before the medium runners. This battle though still carrying on between Jarmo and Dara. They've been going at it like cat and dog, lap after lap after lap. And a lot of these overtakes coming into place down at the Kemmel Straight, although we have yellow flags up through Eau Rouge and Radio, and it is LE Tito, and it is the first safety car of the evening. First claimed victim of Radio and strikes tonight, and it is the Legacy Esports driver of Tito.
Yeah, both LE drivers having incidents up Eau Rouge, and this time Tito hasn't come out of this one with 4 wheels on that car. So Tito is our first retirement, and we have a full safety car. Are we now going to see some guys use this safety car as a free pit stop? It's hard for the guys on the hard tyres because you need to be taking those a fair way into this race. The medium tyres, there's a possibility they could go onto hards and try and take those to the end. Will anyone take that risk? I'm expecting Stretch and Smalley Balls to come in, offer their softs. It's a free pit stop. Why wouldn't you just get rid of those softs personally? But we'll have to wait and see what happens. But this neutralises the field, brings everyone back in. Not that everyone wasn't together. We sort of had 2 split fields, really, with the top 9 and then the rest of the field all bunched together. And I think, yes, we do have medium runners coming in. So Gelram, Gogotsky, Julian, Smalley Balls, they're all jumping around. Thomas, Jarno, Dara, Shax. We got a lot of drivers coming into the pits, and most of them should be going onto the hard tyre.
Yeah, an influx of cars into the pits, kind of what we semi-expected anyway. Smalley Ball's going onto the mediums from them softs. Is he expecting a 2-stop here in Belgium tonight? We'll wait and see. Dara, another one onto the mediums, of course, started on the hards, served that 5-second time penalty, so that's a little bit of a neutralisation of that for the WOR team, but it will put them right down the pack. And interestingly, PGA Stretch opting for a set of softs. That is a bit of a bold call from the driver, but it could work out in the long run. The top 6 then have not pit. We've got a split of 3 medium runners and 3 hard runners opting to stay out. Of course, the hard runners, they could have had the option to go medium perhaps to the end, but sometimes it's worth rolling the dice and keeping that bit of track position. We'll wait and see how things play out. Of course, it is going to make life a lot easier on the tyre wear situation. Of course, Belgium can be a pretty tricky track when it comes to the tyre wear, just because how long it is between every chance you get to the pit stop. On that 1 lap extra, it's going to add a little bit more tyre wear than it would at any other circuit. So I'll give them a little bit of a hand with that. And of course, that also goes for your likes of your Gelrams, for your Gatkowskis, for your Julians, your Smalley Balls, your Thomases. They're going to be able to nurse these tyres for a few laps, do less racing laps on them, and maybe, just maybe, stretch them to the end. We'll all wait and see, though. We have got 3 compounds in effect here. Let's state the softs of Stretch. That's the driver I'm going to be keeping an eye on very, very closely here.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting call. Obviously, he's lost his teammate in Tito, so are they going for an aggressive strat to try and maximise Stretch's points opportunities, or do they just think, let's go on softs? There could still be another safety car, and then that will give us that free pit stop again to then change onto the mediums. It's all up in the air. Everyone's taken risks. Some have taken more of a risk than others. It's an awkward timing of the safety car, I would say. It's one that sort of gets in your head a bit, but some of these teams, some of these drivers will have engineers in their ear giving them a bit of guidance and some tips on what they would do. So this is where we're at. We've done one lap of the safety car. It's lap 7, and it's Igor who currently holds the lead, but net lead, I would say, currently belongs to Gelram, as the top 6 have not yet made a pit stop.
Yeah, it's something you're touching on. Just actually watching there, Dara and Stretch leaving a decent bit of a gap there, and Dara getting alongside almost, pushing him along, telling him, come on, let's catch up with this pack here. But contact resulting in that sort of shenanigans, and I think a bit of an illegal overtake. Stretch got retaken the position there. The two of them slowing down. Haribo coming to a standstill there, letting Gross stick by. I'm not too sure what exactly is going on at the back of the pack here. The back 4, sorry, seem to be having a little bit of overtaking shenanigans. Stretch going down the inside here, maybe trying to return the favour of an illegal overtake. There's battles going on even under the safety car here, Leslie, right down at the back of the pack. But just to touch on what you said, it was one of those safety cars. The timing, it was never really perfect for anybody. There was always going to be a level of doubt and a level of, do I do this, do I do that? And as a driver, I think you mentioned the other engineers, that little bit of reassurance can sometimes make the difference, and it could be what wins the race here. And tonight, Stretch then retaking that position from Dara. Hopefully nobody gets any on track penalties, and hopefully no more contact. But I believe they're back swapping position again. I believe though we should be back to racing at the start of lap 8. There we have the confirmation safety car in this lap, which will get us underway for hopefully 15 laps of green flag racing.
Yes, hopefully some nice green flag racing and none of that shenanigans that we're seeing going on at the back. Not sure exactly what's going on, but I'm sure we'll see whatever has happened there in the stewards room, and the stewards will have fun picking apart that mess. But Igor is the man that will get us back underway. The safety car is pretty much now pulling into the pit lane, so Igor is free to go when he wants. Is he going to go quite late? Is he going to go early? It looks like he's taking it bit by bit. Let's go on board with JR Damage so we can see the moment, and there he goes. Igor is gone. Pretty good restart from him. Didn't catch JR Damage out too much, but enough that he's got a decent gap, and it should be a pretty clean restart, and we are back underway in green flag racing conditions. No DRS, the old famous Martin Brundle saying we have to have 3 laps before we get the DRS open and enabled. So we may not see too many moves here, although JR Damage is actually eyeing up a move on Igor. Here he goes, down the Camel straight, up the inside. Thank you very much, Igor. I will take that. Damage up into first place, and JR for the first time I think this season sitting in first place.
Yep, even on those 7-lap old hearts making the move, and there's plenty of moves happening in this mid-pack here. Philip jumping RBL, Salt at the end of the Camel Straight. Gelram had tried to have a look anyway, but Kikowski coming out of nowhere through this middle sector, jumping ahead of Gelram, and has now jumped ahead of RBL. Salt, who's lost it through Puon into the wall and damage to the front of that mass. And I think the car is actually beached there by the looks of things. Yep, having to reset the track because the car beached on a little bit of a hill. Damage for both RBL drivers at the start of this safety car restart period. Not going too great for them as things stand. And Gelram still on both the attack and the defence here. He's got Thomas looking very tasty on the run through Blanchimont. He'll maybe try and have a look down into the bus stop chicane. Has a think about it, almost backs out and decides, let's just go for this here. Down the inside, looking for the switchback. A little bit of contact though with Shanks in the back, and Shanks losing a couple of positions there, just not expecting the car to switch across in front of him to try and go for that cutback move. Gajowski ahead of Philip then down into turn 1, and this will be lap 2 of the restart. One more to go, Leslie, before the DRS wings are wide on open and the real fun begins.
Yeah, I was not actually expecting too many moves without the DRS, but they all seem to be going for it as Igor is looking to challenge for the lead and retake that P1. He does so. The IRT boys swapping positions. Gagowski also jumping ahead of LDL into P4. They're all really pushing without the DRS as Smalley Balls is now eyeing up Philip after his teammate. That's a bit of a dive, bit of a contact. Pushed Julian wide, Philip wide, sorry, and Gelram makes the most of that little incident. Puts himself up into P8. Julian up the inside of the Pash. Can these two get round nice and clean? Yes, they can. Julian, very nice move. Smalley Ball says, I'm going to join in as well. Round the outside he goes of the Pash, and the Pash loses 2 places in 2 corners.
Really heating up here, even without that DRS assistance. These drivers pushing it to the limits and going for every move that they can possibly find. The big trade all the way down from P2 right down to P14, but Igor Jelin has just about escaped. He has in fact that 1.2. This could be very, very crucial for the long run of this race. Gagowski, though, his teammate, up into P3, getting ahead of the TGT driver of Not Eve. And a 1-3 as things stand with CPI, of course, still a few cars to make that required pit stop. We'll see how that plays out. Stretch is on a bit of a run here with these softs. A bit of a dive into turn 1, however, and makes contact with the rear of LRN Thomas, and that is the front wing gone for the PGS driver. And I'm going to apologise wholeheartedly for the commentator's curse.
Big commentator's curse there. It was a huge dive from Stretch. Definitely overshot it as we're seeing more moves at the front. Kukowski now getting up ahead of Damage as well, so it's a CPI 1-2. Julian also getting ahead of Eve, so these fresh tyre runners are coming into play. There's only a 5-lap difference, but we're seeing the difference on track and in positions. We're seeing a few bad moves as well. The chicane before the start finish line is causing a lot of issues. A lot of drivers tangling up there. I don't know why, because you've got to expect drivers to be turning in. It's a chicane. But here comes Shax on Philip round the outside. No, it goes a bit deep. Not going to happen. He's going to have to be aware now of Glowstick behind him, although Glowstick not able to capitalise on that small mistake. Now the midfield Gelram, the WR boys are trying to get up and high, and he's making a move on the Pash as Julian makes a move on JR Damage. Smalley Balls also makes a move on Eve. I can barely keep up at this point, and we've got the DRS back online as well. And there's another incident between the two Alpha Tauris, the two JR boys at the chicane. Smalley Balls giving his teammate a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a push on, saying, come on mate, I'm on the fresh mediums, get out my way. And he swaps positions with Damage up into P4. It's all happening, it's all kicking off. There's a few people in the pits. Don't take your eyes off it.
I'm struggling to keep my eyes on everything that's going on here, Leicester. I don't know about you. Smalley Ball's looking very, very racy throughout the last couple of laps, of course, on those fresh on mediums. Gagowski, though, is ahead of his teammate now and up into P1 on those 5-lap old hards. He can probably just about stretch them out to the end. He's on a similar strategy to a lot of cars that are really going to be competing to him. And of course, Smalley Balls mediums you'd expect to fall away that little bit earlier. But it'll be interesting to see the CPI drivers. That's 10 laps on those mediums for Igor. Is he going to play the team game and try and form a little bit of a bottleneck, or is he going to pit pretty soon and try and recover as much points as possible for the CPI team? Answer will be on a postcard for that. Still, it's surprisingly not as many battles this lap, it must be said. Haribo having a little look at Thomas now down at the back of the pack. They're just coming through, no name on the little rundown to pull on now. But generally speaking, the gaps are forming out a little bit. Maybe those tyres just losing that little bit of raciness. Stretch picking up a 3-second time penalty, of course, in to replace that wing onto fresh mediums now. That'll definitely be able to go to the end. But he's going to need to put in some mighty laps to try and catch up with some cars around and about him. Smalley Balls, though, I thought for a second there we were going to see a repeat of history. The time coming very, very tight into the bus stop chicane as Philip LP makes the move on Shax up into P10 for the IRT driver. But this top four very, very close knit as they run up through Eau Rouge and through Radion, not Pouon, my apologies. And Smalley Balls just with that medium seem to get a better run up through the corner. And this could get tasty. The two CPI drivers, are they going to swap back places? Igor defending that inside line for his teammate and holding off Julian for now. But this is about to get very, very racy at the front here, Leslie.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Igor had the DRS, but with the older tyres, it's not what they want to be doing. They want to keep Kokoski out in front, and they need Julian to be slowing down. Igor, sorry, to be slowing down Julian and Smalley Balls. But at the moment, the gaps are really tight, as you said. This top four looking really close together. And you wonder when Igor is going to pit. Is he going to be able to hold on to these mediums to maybe slap on a set of softs? I think if he's gone half the race distance and he's still looking this good, still managing to keep the pace, then I'd say he's probably going to stay where he is. But just behind them, Gelram is now looking to make a move on JR Damage. He's got the younger hard tyres. He's all over that rear wing of the JR man. Doesn't seem to have the pace to get round in there. He's going to look to the outside of the chicane, get the inside on the second part, and that is a very nice move as JR Damage actually comes into the pit. So both WR boys jump up into 5th and 6th and now look to make some progress on the top four as these four drivers still remain quite tight together. Damage, Eve and Lepiche all coming in for their pit stops. So Igor and Philip, the only two left not to make a pit stop yet. Are we going to see any moves? Igor going to look to the inside, but he's not going to make the move because he's got the older tyres. No point. Dara and Gelram swapping positions as well. Dara with the mediums, so best to let him go and take that fresh air. Shax and Philip also swapping positions. Maybe it's time for Philip to slap on a set of mediums. I also wanted to shout out a quick comment. Thank you to those who are watching. It's hard to shout you guys out at the moment with all the action on the track, but a good comment. Ben Visi, that move was a bit of a stretch. We missed a punchline there. Well done, Ben Visi. I like that one very much. I applaud you on that as LDL and Glowstick and Philip actually battling back into P7. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe Philip is still running good on these hard tyres. But thank you everyone for joining us and watching. Please like the stream, subscribe to League Racing TV as RVL Haribo picks up a 3-second penalty, and keep those comments flooding in. Is Igor going to be making his pit stop this lap? No, he's not. He's carrying on. He's either got to be looking for a safety car or going for the soft, Scott.
Yeah, he's definitely either on a hope and a prayer that the safety car comes out, or just stretching out to try and take these softs as far as he can. I've got a feeling Philip is doing something similar. As much as he's been battling with Shax, he's been keeping him just at arm's length and managing to swap back position each time every couple of laps. It's been actually quite a nice little midfield battle. But the battle up front now, it was a battle of 4. It could be very soon a battle of 6. The two CPI drivers are going to swap positions this lap. There's a little bit of contact between Smalley Balls and Julian going into the Lecomte section, and Smalley Balls is up into P3. But crucially, out front, the two CPI drivers swapping positions now. This could have a big impact in the long run. Dara now well within that DRS train, and Gelram not too far behind as things stand. Big bit of a gap though back to the rest of these front 6. All eyes on them and seeing how this plays out. Of them, of course, Igor Jelin, the only one here left to pit, the CPI driver currently out front. So it'll be an interesting take to see, does he just risk it, does he stretch him out, hope for that safety car, or does he eventually pull the trigger and go on to a set of softs? I would almost say it's too late for the hards. You're not going to get the full benefit and you'd have lost a bit of time with the extended overcut, I would describe it as. But Dara, very, very racy, it must be said, around Belgium here tonight, making a nice charge up through the field and up into this P5, really, really catching up to this front pack. We'll see if any moves do curtail. Of course, it is a bit trickier to overtake in a position like this when you're catching up to the pack. It can be a little bit simpler if you've got that pace, but you need a massive pace advantage to make a move sometimes, just because of that added slipstream and that added DRS. We'll see if any moves get lined up into the comms on lap 15 of 22. Up through Eau Rouge and Radion then. They all seem to be getting through pretty cleanly, not even the slightest bit of wobbles. And we'll see how the CPI drivers take it this time around. Is Kagowski going to retake the lead? It looks like he is. Smalley Bowles had a think and tried to maybe follow through for a second there, but the opportunity never really appearing for him, and they all run through as they entered the corner. How they exited it, or back to front there. You know what I meant.
We know what you meant. We know what you meant.
Know what I meant.
Yeah, it's proving pretty difficult for the CPI guys. That last lap before, Igor had to make the move. Otherwise, if he didn't, he would have been swallowed up by Smalley Balls. And wow, that is big. Igor with a 3-second time penalty now. Yes, he still has to pit anyway, but that is big. So Igor, theoretically, with a pit stop as well, could be out of this without a safety car. And now should really look to try and slow the guys behind him down. That's what the team should want here. He needs to get Kugoski the best chance possible, with the likes of Smalley Balls and Dara looking pretty pacey as Haribo picks up another time penalty. And here we go, Smalley Balls making the move, Igor battling as hard as he can, but that is it. His time is done and he's into the pits. He has, though, slowed Smalley Balls up enough that he's not within the DRS of Kugoski. So Kugoski has got a little bit of a buffer. It's not much on Smalley Balls, but hopefully now that both WR drivers are on the back of this, that these four behind him will just tangle up between themselves and keep themselves battling. The gap is really coming down though, as Julian does make the move as expected, as Smalley Balls really gets up close to that Mercedes, but thankfully no contact there. It's actually great to have three pretty classic, well-known teams in the scene fighting at the front. CPI, IRT, WR, all three teams have been around for a long time, and IRT and CPI especially been long competitors in EML, so this is great to see in F2.
Definitely, and what a battle it's shaping up to be. The top five, and I was just about to give them a bit of a shout out there. Philip and LDL Shanks having a great battle, still raging on a few laps later, and Shanks just losing it under traction at the midway point through of Puon. No contact at all, just car stepping out a little bit from underneath him down into P10 then. But Philip, I'm going to give him a shout out still. 15 laps on those hards and still going pretty strong. Of course, has got to make a pit stop by the rules and regulations, has to use 2 tyre compounds, but is this going to be the almighty stretch and put the softs on and try and charge through the field, or is he just going to take this as long as he can until the period of where a safety car cannot come out and then decide to do the pit with 2 to go? Well, speak of the devil, and it might just appear Haribo is out of the session on the rundown through the back final straight towards the bus stop chicane. Virtual safety car at the moment, no full safety car, but a few cars taking this opportunity to get a cheap and easy pit stop here. Shanks, LaPeach, Thomas and Glowstick, as well as Jarmo Buttigieg, all into the pits here, and expect to see a flurry of red striped sauce going onto each and every one of those cars here, Leslie. But VSC, if there wasn't the V there, this could have been a very different race.
Oh, this could have really been different, and I think Philip would have been kicking himself actually, as we go back to green flag racing, if that went to full safety car, because Philip had just passed the pit entrance. So probably a bit of relief there, if anything, as he's got to deal with damage now down the inside. 4 lap old mediums against 16 lap old hards. I think it's best to just let damage through there, unfortunately, as he's now got Igor on fresh softs behind him. So I'm not sure Philip is going to be able to respond. Oh, but he's been tagged. Igor has tagged him. Philip been spun round. Igor just lost a bit of the patience. There's a massive difference in the tyre. Completely new softs and old hards. The pace difference is massive. Lack of just patience and just biding your time. And unfortunately, Philip has been spun round. And it's a shame because he has had a really good race and has done really well with that tyre. But I think he's going to have to just bite the bullet, because the likelihood of a safety car now is pretty low. But with 5 laps to go, we still have the top 5. Kukotsky is still just holding on to keeping Julian outside of the DRS. The WR boys haven't really been able to get involved in. Instead, it's Jelram actually looking at his teammate of Dara, not making the move, but they're just under a second behind Smalley boys, but not able to close in on the JR man and the IRT man of Julian. So far, they're sticking to where they are.
I think they're playing the long game here. When you look at their ERS deployment, they're sitting a lot healthier than the likes of Smalley Balls, Julian and Gitkowski. Maybe not wanting to show their hand too early. Keep that little bit of battery in reserve, and when we get to the final few laps, when these cars in front are definitely going to be running near enough empty. We've already seen a bit of derating, the red flashing light, of course, when they're under 10% happening in the race. They'll maybe choose that time to pounce. They've got no real threat behind, of course, not Eve, the next car, 9 seconds down the road. So I think WR just playing this patiently, playing it slowly, and maybe in the next lap or two we could see them unleash some of the pace that we know they've got in their locker. Igor making the move then on GR Damage. Those fresh softs a lot quicker than even the slightly fresher, or slightly less fresh mediums, I should say. Did have a momentary think about the bus stop chicane there on Naive, but decides better of it, and probably for the best of things. But he should get a good run now, down into turn 1, puts in the fastest lap while he's at it, but tucks right back in behind. Probably looking for that DRS off the Kemmel Straight here. A bit of smart play with the position of the car. We'll just jump further on up to the front of the pack, because Dara is now using a bit of that ERS to try and make a move up into P2 here. A double overtake on Julian and Smalley Balls, and that is the WR driver launching himself from P4 all the way up to P2, and with a little bit more in the tank. A compound softer off tyres, albeit they are all 13 laps old. The WR driver of Dara could be looking to try and avenge the poor result in Japan last week and go for the win here. Definitely something to keep an eye on. I wouldn't be going anywhere if I was you.
Yeah, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head with WR just biding their time, as Julian just seemed to look like he was a sitting duck, just not barely moving at all, to be honest, compared to the likes of Smalley Balls and Dara. They both flew past, and now Kugotsky has got something to worry about, because Dara is now just over half a second behind the CPI man, and he's looked the paciest driver here so far in this Spa Grand Prix. So Kugotsky now has got it all to do, and it's medium versus hard compound tyre. Are those mediums going to fall off? Are those hards, have those hards got enough pace in them to be able to defend? I think he's going to have to. It's sort of whoever's going to end up getting that DRS on the last lap here is going to be some mind games, unless one driver can get ahead of the other, and then for the rest of the lap break the DRS, as Dara will pretty much sweep straight passes. We're seeing moves behind because Jelram is now getting involved, and he wants to have a shot, and he gets himself up into third place, currently onto the podium. Julian and Smalley Balls now starting to struggle, starting to fall away, and WOR are now coming good towards the end of this race, as Dara now leads lap 20 of this Belgian Grand Prix. Igor still coming back towards the top 5. So Julian, with that penalty, he's not completely out of the woods yet, because Igor is absolutely flying on those fresh softs. And also, it's still anyone's game at the back. A lot of drivers still close together.
Absolutely, it's been an action-packed race, and it's going to be that way right down to the wire. Jailram copying the move from Dara on the previous lap, basically saying anything you can do, I can do better, and made the double overtake at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Plenty of penalties, of course, could come into effect. Most of the drivers on 3 seconds. Glow stick and Salt on the 6, and John Abutaji on 12. So, like you say, Julian, not completely out of the woods yet. We've got 2 laps here to go around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit here in Belgium. Dara currently leading the pack ahead of Gatkowski. Jailram, though, is on the march. He's caught back up within that DRS range, and he has brought Julian and Smalley Bulls with him, so it's definitely not all over here. We'll see if the WR boys do a bit of team play here, maybe try and get both cars on them top steps of the podium, or is Dara just going to completely focus on trying to secure this win ahead of the CPI driver? We've only got a lap and a half left to find out, of course, so I definitely wouldn't be stepping away. And the top 3, in fact, are now starting to gap the likes of Julian and Smalley Ball, so it looks as if they two are completely falling off the cliff, like you said, and the battle, all eyes on those front 3. JR Damage, though, definitely running a decent race, so he is. Down in P8, of course, in those medium tyres, but no penalties. Could see him jump up to P6. And maybe you never know, with a little bit of luck or a little bit of pace right at the end here, could get within the range of Julian. It'd be a tricky task, but definitely not one out of complete capability. And Thomas as well, a bit unfortunate for him. P10, just behind Stretch with that pen, of course. So could be on for a P9 at the very best. And like you say, the back of the pack all up for debate and negotiation, of course. But we are about to start this final lap here, Leslie. And I think I know who's going to be on the podium. I just don't know which order.
Yep, we will find that out as Dara comes up towards the line. Jelram already putting the pressure, and Kogotsky on the bus stop chicane as Shax picks up a 3-second time penalty. There's a lot of WOR members in the chat pushing their team on. They want to see a 1-2 for the Alfa Romeos here. Are they going to get it? Kogotsky much closer to Dara than he was last lap. Dara could be a bit of a sitting duck, but can Jelram come and back him up? Here we go. We're on the chicane. Dara can't do anything about Kogotsky. Where's Jelram? He's not close enough to get involved. So Kogotsky has taken the lead off of Dara. He's ruining the WR party. And now it's up to the rest of the lap for the WR men to try and do something. As Jelram nearly loses the car. Keeps it in a straight line though. All 4 wheels still on the track. And Kogotsky got about half a lap to go to take the win here.
Brilliant timing, and a bit of play by Kogotsky there, using that ERS down the straight to defend against Jelram, but to also get the move on Dara. There's only really one overtaking opportunity left on this circuit, and it's where we've seen a few moves, a few bits of contact. It's of course the famous chicane here, Leslie. Here we go then, the run for the final time through Blanchimont, and that will set us up for maybe some moves into the bus stop chicane. Although it's looking like the only move that could come in the top 3 here is Jelram and Dara, and I don't quite think they're going to risk that one.
No, Dara looking to try and see how close he could get to Kogotsky, but it's going to be the CPI man who holds on against the WR pair to take the win in Belgium. Well done to the CPI man. Dara and Jelram both finishing up on the podium. well done to those two. Brilliant driving, really looked good today. Smalley Balls and Julian were up there for a very long time, just fell away at the end, maybe struggling with the tyres, but shout out to those two. Brilliant efforts. JR Damage coming home in P6. Igor finishing up in P7 after being at the front for most of the race, and Kugotsky has definitely got him to thank for helping him out a lot of that. Eve for TGT picking up P8, Thomas in P9, Philip rounding up the top 10, then Stretch in P11, the LDL pair of Lepeach and Shax in 12th and 13th, Glowstick coming home 14th, Yarno, who was involved in a bit of bumping early on, in 15th, RVL Salt comes across the line to take 16th, and unfortunately we lost Haribo and Tido to the Wolves of Spa. And the driver of the day from the game is Dara. We'll give you ours very shortly, but there we have it. What a finale that was.
Absolutely, real entertainment from start to finish on this longest track on the calendar. You normally expect the lap times being that little bit longer, that the gaps are going to be that little bit bigger, and well, the grid did not disappoint with that. But like you say, the CPI driver taking the top spot ahead of the two WR drivers. Smalley Balls, a very honourable P4 from P8 in the grid, and Julian finishing where he started. Solid pace all throughout this race. Just dying off right at the end there. Driver of the day, you mentioned it very briefly. It's a tricky one. You know, Smalley Balls are in a great race. Dara made some great overtakes, but I've got to just give it to Kay Gatkowski, just purely because of the way he played them last few laps with the WR drivers. It was a 2 versus 1, and he came out on top with a little bit of ERS management and just making the moves at the right time.
Yeah, very well said, very well managed. He timed that perfectly at the end. We did say it was going to come down to that DRS straight, and whoever was in position to take advantage of the DRS, and that man was Kwiatkowski. So well done to him for the race win, and WR for the double podium. It's good results for WR, it's good results for CPI, it's great results for JR. IRT both finishing in the top 10. There's some good team results there, and I believe Philip picked up the fastest lap on those fresh softs towards the end after taking the hards about, I think it was most of the race, 18-19 laps. So brilliant effort from him. I won't take that away from him at all. So hats off. Thank you everyone for joining us in the stream. Do appreciate all the comments. All the WR boys obviously jumped in because they could see a possible 1-2 coming out of that, but instead it's a double podium for them. I'm going to give, you said Kugotsky as your driver of the day. I'm going to go for Smalley Balls. I think Smalley Balls looked pretty good today. He was up there for most of it, just ran out of the tyre life towards the end, which is a shame, but I enjoyed what he'd done today. But shout out to Dara as well, because he really looked racy today and just fell short at the end for the last DRS section.
Yeah, I mean, I would say all three of them very, very good picks, and the other two very, very good, honourable picks. Some great racing went down through the pack, and it's been a bit like that all season, Leslie. We've had not really a dull race so far. We've not even had a dull qualifying session so far this season. Of course, starting off in Silverstone, we had a little bit of drama, it must be said, in Australia, and last week at Suzuka was it was an absolute classic. Belgium, another classic track, another classic race. Next week, though, a little bit of a change-up for them.
Yes, indeed. We are heading to Lusail of Qatar. So it's the Qatar Grand Prix next week, the 11th of October, 8 p.m. It will be your dynamic duo once again of myself and Scott, bringing you all the action there. And I can imagine we're going to get another scintillating race. As Scott said, we have not had one race where we've even had a driver just break away and just take the win from start to finish. So we've had action at the front for every single race. We've had action in the midfield. And Belgium had it all. We had the wets, we had the intermediates in qualifying, we had the dry session, we had incidents galore, we had great overtaking moves, a bit of drama as well in there, some safety cars. We really had it all. So definitely one to go in the books, as, like you said, the rest of the season has been. So my voice is actually going, I'm struggling now. Thank you once again, Scott, for joining me in the commentary box.
Absolute pleasure to be here, Lest. It's been, yeah, I feel as if we're growing as a commentator here on every week, and I must admit, it's nice to sit in the co-comms box and just take things easy, relax, and, well, I say that, try and relax, because the action is never ending, and I think your voice is a testament to that. You've done an absolute magnificent job all season. Yeah, no. Thanks for having me, mate.
Stop it, you big flirt. No, it's been really good, and it's testament to the action we are seeing on track. So thank you to the drivers for giving us another entertaining one. We will see you next week at... It's going to be another brilliant... Thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe